Before we jump into the horror goodness, just as a reminder and an update for our 1-minute short film competition, we recently announced the competition with details in another episode, which I will link below, but we also have a website that has all of those details, including a prize breakdown. And speaking of prizes, our good friends at HitFilm just added to the amazing prize pool that we already have, so definitely check out the website to see the details on all the prizes and the contest. But back on topic, with this scene, we wanted to make everything completely different from the first one that we did. With our first horror scene, it wasn't really about being creepy, scary, as much as it was about just being unnerving and having a disturbed feeling to it. It was also heavily stylized with a lot of lighting and grade and a loud soundtrack. So for the lurker scene, I wanted to do the exact opposite all the way around. This one is built out to be creepy, a slow, quiet build with little to no lighting other than practical lights that were already there, and a very basic grade and soundtrack, which is a style that I enjoy playing in the most, building something slowly, letting it breathe, and let the audience sink into it while building their own narrative in their heads. It always leads to a better creep factor and scares, in my opinion. But again, to shoot the scene, we wanted to go as minimal as possible. We spent $0 on it, minus the Halloween mask. But to shoot this scene, the first challenge we came up with was making those lights flicker. With these sorts of lights, you can't just flip the light switch on and off quickly to get the look, and even if you could, it wouldn't be shutting off one light at a time, it would be doing them all at once. So instead, I locked my camera down, which worked fine since the whole piece was designed to be locked down with little to no movement. Then, without touching the camera at all, we went down the hallway, removing the bulbs from the lights one fixture at a time. So at first, I shot with them all on, then removed the bulbs from the first fixture, got that, then the second, and so on. In reality, there are 4 fixtures in the hallway, but I wanted these moments to be a beginning, middle, and end. I felt like a 4th light would have slowed the pace. So with 3, we have that first flicker telling us something might be odd here, then the second, which reveals that something is definitely wrong, and the third ramps up to the danger. Now in the 4th fixture, I did tape a small LED light there. That way I could get the shot with it on and then off, then I could fade between those two to have the darkness subtly creeping down the hall, but we'll get to that in a minute. Then I have this close-up of the light as well, and for this, I'll do the same, a shot with it on, then one with it off, and now I have what I need to make that light flicker, so we'll jump into our editor, which it doesn't matter what you're in, we're only gonna be using basic functions. So I'll drop in my shot with the light on, then to make it flicker, I'll just grab one frame of the light off and put that above it, and we have a flicker already. To smooth that out and make it feel more realistic, I'll copy that to be 3 in a row. The first, I'll drop to about half opacity, the second to 100% opacity, and the third to about half again. So now we have it dim, then all the way off, and dim again. And now we have a more realistic switch, and now we can start copy and pasting these, rearranging them where they pop up to get more of a random look, with, of course, as much flickering as we need. So right here, you can see how these 2 moments are set up, and then it goes into consecutive flickering. Then, of course, we just cut to the shot of the light off to move away from that. For the demon, we just did the same, but added a shot in the darkness with the demon there. So we took this cheap mask that we got from the Halloween store, which, as discussed in a previous episode, is basically Wonderland for no-budget filmmakers. Then we put it in a black cloak and threw it on whatever we had lying around, which was this thingy, a punching dummy thingy.
His name is Bob.
We put it on Bob. Then we pop Bob on an apple box, and now we can move it wherever needed, which really sucks the scariness out of it once you know it's just Bob. Now to bring him in subtly the first time, I got another shot, this one with the light that we put up in the fixture off, and then we placed our dummy demon. So now I can fade between the first shot that just has the 2 lighting fixtures off, and the second one that has that extra LED and the demon placed, so it looks like the shadows are moving slowly down the hallway as we subtly reveal the creature in the hall as well. And then we have our final reveal, which was handled in the exact same flickering sort of way. And other than that one light that we taped into the fixture, there were no additional lights for this hallway. In fact, with the entire short, the most we had for any shot was 1 light. And the most we did for the lighting as a whole was to black out the windows with some plastic bags that we got from Home Depot, since we were shooting all of this during the day. But jumping into Josh's office, the flickering here was just as simple. This was done in 2 ways. First was the lamp. This was done the easiest and most obvious, with Josh just messing with a plug in the outlet. Boom, flickering light. Then for the light flickering on Josh, since I was using an LED light to get our look, which was the only light I used in the office, just 1 light for everything in here, but we couldn't make it flicker and we didn't have time to rig anything, so instead I just left it as is. And then in post, I dropped on an adjustment layer, made it 1 frame, then added Lumetri to bring down the exposure, and after that I treated it the same way that I did with the light shutting off in the hallway, and we have our flickering. Finally, we have this shot here. The idea is that the light coming off of the screen on the character's phone is what's illuminating their face. But of course, the light on the phone isn't nearly bright enough, so we took a small LED light, this Luxley Cello, and put it behind Josh's phone so we could set the color and illumination to what we wanted. So the effect that we get is that his face is illuminated by his phone's screen, and it keeps it all very simple and organic, which I think boosts the scare. But now, we take a quick break and then add in a demon face without a mask.
Do not adjust your screen. Everything's fine. Nothing weird here, except you don't have a domain, and you want a domain. No, you need a domain, and you need to get it from domain.com. They have your website needs, including .com and .net domain names, and intuitive website builders. Take the first steps in creating an identity online. You know domain.com is affordable, reliable, and has the tools you need to build a website so you can start sharing your ideas with the world. You feel in your bones that no domain extension will help you tell your story like a .com or .net domain name. They have over 300 domain name extensions to fit your needs, from .club to .space. You must use the coupon code FILMRIOT to get 15% off your order when getting domain names, web hosting, and email. So go to domain.com now, get your domain name, use the coupon code FILMRIOT. You will now return to your regular day and remember nothing.
Logo. Another thing we could have done with this scene would have been to add the demon face in digitally. So if we didn't have access to good enough mask or the skill with makeup to do something solid, we could always use stock image. So for instance, if we jump over to Adobe Stock, we switch to images and search for something like demon, we can grab something that fits what we're looking for, then bring that into our editor. Now we have the mask in the shot here, so we have a reference to match this digital shot too. So if you're going to do this, it would be very helpful to get someone in the shot as well, so you can use that as a reference. But now we can add a mask around our image just to get the area of the image that we want to work with, then add some color correction, blur, and grain to match our image, and we have a totally new demon face. So even if you aren't able to add your monster in on the day, you still have plenty of options to make it work if you just stay creative. Finally, we have the sound. I wanted everything to be very pulled back and mundane, so all simple sounds. And we also shot this entire thing, other than 2 moments, MOS, which, in case you don't know, MOS means that we shot the scene without sound. Doing that allowed us to move a lot faster since we only had a couple hours to do this in, and I didn't mind doing it because I knew that I would be replacing everything in post anyway, since I wanted that very specific and controlled sound. But to build it out, I did it all right inside of Premiere, of course using my current favorite thing, which is Soundly. I did a whole episode on that app, which you could find below. It's insane how useful that thing is. But I started building out the ambience track, which I have 2 tracks here for that. The first one is just some room noise, some airy air conditioner type sound. Then on top of that, I added this slightly off-putting sort of drone sound. I let this play subtly throughout, starting from the very beginning, then I slowly faded the volume up as things got creepy. So hopefully in the end, you're really starting to feel that vibe and it enhances everything. After that, it was just about dropping in the obvious sounds, which again, is super easy inside of Soundly. I'm just typing in what I'm looking for, then dragging that right into my timeline to work with it. And no, Soundly isn't sponsoring this episode, and I don't get paid to say this. It's just that much of an asset while editing. Logo. But that's it for our simple 2-minute horror scene that we shot in a couple of hours with a total of 3 people and no money spent other than the masks that we got at the Halloween store. Again, with the point being to just be creative and make things and practice these techniques to really start sharpening your skills. So try your hand at some of these techniques, give a slow, quiet burn sort of scene a go, and see what pacing works best to bring the audience reaction to what you're looking for. And if you do, I'd love to check it out, so feel free to shoot that over to me on Twitter right here. And again, don't forget about our short film competition. You have 7 weeks to bust out a 1-minute short film for a chance at some epic filmmaker prizes. And I'll see you next week when I crawl down the stairs upside down and backwards.